Joining us, author of Barbara Starr Reports on Substack and former CNN Pentagon correspondent Barbara Starr, national security correspondent for NPR Greg Myrie, and former California Congresswoman who served as the top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, Jane Harman. So, Barbara, the likelihood of ground troops in Iran, where does that stand today?
Well, it seems day by day, when you watch what's coming out of the White House and the Pentagon, to be inching closer and closer, because Netanyahu, of course, is saying exactly what everyone knows to be true. You cannot win a war from air power alone, and you can't kill your way to victory. So there's a long way to go on all of this. The real question, perhaps on ground troops, is what is their mission going to be? What are they going to accomplish? How long could they possibly be there to accomplish that mission? And will that lead to fundamental change in Iran? Is it going to lead to a change in the revolution, is in the regime? Is it going to lead to a change in their ambitions for getting a nuclear weapon? Is it going to lead to a change in what is happening inside of Iran? And it's hard to see how that's really going to happen, no matter how many ground troops you put in the immediate region.
Greg, what is the status from what we can ascertain? And I know it's hard because Iran is a black box right now, about how the regime is doing. Is it still intact? Is it still enforcing laws within Iran itself?
Yeah, we heard from the director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, this week. She testified before both the House and the Senate intelligence committees. And that's exactly the word she used, is that the regime is still intact. It's been degraded. Certainly many of the top leaders, dozens of the top political and military leaders have been killed. Israel announces by the day almost that somebody else has been killed. Certainly their conventional military forces have been weakened. We don't know precisely how their government is functioning, but at some level it is functioning. And the new supreme leader, whose father was killed on a day one strike, we still haven't heard from him or seen him. There's just been one statement issued in his name. So as you say, it's very much a black box, but at some level it's still functioning.
The idea of occupying Karg Island, I'm just curious, Jane, how big of an escalatory step would that be?
Big, and it would put, presumably, our troops in harm's way. My question is, where's Congress? Congress should be authorizing this or not, putting guardrails around it for sure. The imminent threat is not this, the imminent threat to us. The imminent threat is the long lines, the TSA lines, where some bad actor could easily get through because the TSA agents, those who still show up for work, are unpaid and exhausted. And those folks go directly on airplanes, and we could see a repeat of 9/11. I cannot fathom why Congress can't pull itself together to agree on some authorization or not to use military force and a budget to fund this. Ducking this forever means, as far as I'm concerned, that voters will get madder and madder, more against this than they already are, and all incumbents are putting themselves at risk.
Is there a situation where the American public gets behind this? I know they want a $200 million supplemental to the Pentagon's budget, $200 billion, supplemental. Democrats don't seem to be on board with that. There are questions of whether Republicans are on board with that. And by the way, I'll just bring up, we have the broad numbers. Broadly speaking, the American public does not support anything that's going on in Iran right now. Republicans feel a little bit differently. But when you look at those numbers regarding ground troops, most Americans believe it's going to happen. Only 7% support it. How does Congress get behind any of this when there is so little American support for this war?
Well, I'm not advocating for this war. I think it's a war of choice in it, and we didn't have a strategy, and we don't have an exit strategy. However, Congress gets behind it if the case is made to Congress and then to the American people. That's what happened in Iraq and Afghanistan. Now, Iraq turned out to be a mistake. I voted for it, but the intelligence was flawed. But in this case, Congress has to step up. And on this budget, it's a crazy budget. This war is costing $1 billion a day, allegedly. We're 3 weeks in, so that's $21 billion. What's the other amount of money going for? And the idea that we're sending thousands of troops there and some may be on the ground, and our troops may be in harm's way without Congress authorizing this is totally reckless.
Greg, we've done this dance before. The idea of occupying Kharg Island. I know you've done a comparison, an interview comparing this to what happened in Kuwait. Please explain.
Yeah, it would be a very risky thing, as Congresswoman Harman mentioned. The U.S. has already bombed the military facilities there, but hasn't taken over or destroyed the oil facilities, and that's where Iran's oil came out. The U.S. would lose its leverage if it destroyed that. So presumably, if they're thinking about some sort of operation, it would be perhaps to take the island and use it as leverage. But it just puts you in a very difficult position. So you not only have Kharg Island, which is at the very northern end of the Gulf there, but the big bottleneck is down at the Strait of Hormuz, which is further south. So you'd have to deal with all those issues. We're talking about a backup now of some 3,000 ships, oil tankers, gas tankers, cargo ships. So it would be a massive effort. And, it would involve certainly U.S. ships, possibly ground troops. We know that 2 Marine units are headed to the region. So we don't want to speculate as to exactly what that operation would be, only knowing that it would be big and it would be difficult.
And the administration, the president, is still demanding that the allies come help down in the Strait of Hormuz. They're not moving, it appears. Overnight on Truth Social, he called our allies cowards. He said without the USA, NATO is a paper tiger. They didn't want to join the fight to stop a nuclear-powered Iran. Now that fight is militarily won with very little danger for them. They complain about high oil prices. They are forced to pay, but they don't want to help open the Strait of Hormuz, a simple military maneuver. That is the single reason for the high oil prices. So easy for them to do with so little risk. Cowards. And we will remember President Donald J. Trump. Why, Barbara, don't our allies want to get involved in this?
Well, I think Trump says he's going to remember them. They're going to remember Trump because, look, all of these countries take a very serious look at the Trump administration, at its level of candor, openness, transparency with them about what is going on. These countries, for many years, have supported the U.S. indeed through Iraq, through Afghanistan. They have sent their troops. Their troops have been wounded and killed. In their governments back home, there is not an appetite for this kind of open-ended commitment, largely with no clear strategy in place. Look, the Pentagon keeps saying, Pete Hegseth keeps saying, we're winning. And if it wasn't for the negative press, everybody would understand that we're winning. But I mean, consider this. This goes back to, we're back to where we've been for so many years. Someone stands at the Pentagon podium and says, oh, we hit 6,000 targets today. Well, yeah. But what does that really mean? Are you really changing the strategic fundamentals on the ground in Iran? Does the number of bombs you dropped equate to success necessarily? We've been through a lot of combat in this country, dating all the way back to Vietnam, where the number of bombs you drop doesn't have a very good relationship to what is actually happening on the ground.
And as I understand it, the enriched uranium that exists in Iran has not been gotten at by American or Israeli forces because they're doing an air raid. It's not that you need to go with ground troops. So if Iran still has that enriched uranium, it is just a matter of time if they want to start rebuilding centrifuges. Right, Congressman Harman? I mean, if we really want to stop them from ever having a nuclear weapon, doesn't that ultimately mean that if the regime is just as hardline or more hardline, it stays in power and they start doing this all over again, that we're going to be in a position to have to go back in with bombs in the future? Or just where does that leave us?
According to rhetoric, we've obliterated this nuclear capacity twice. The answer is we have not obliterated it. But my answer to that is that we had an agreement, the JCPOA, which was flawed. It was only for 10 years. It didn't cover missiles. But we should have mended it, not ended it. Donald Trump threw it out. And now we're starting over. And what's wrong with this picture is we surely don't understand, as we did not in Vietnam, understand guerrilla war. We didn't understand in Iraq and Afghanistan tribal culture. And here we don't understand that the structure of the Islamic Republic is dispersed power, and you can decapitate. But what you end up doing is making the lower level more highly resolved to do the thing that the upper level wanted to do. So now we're in a position where we're making it more likely, not less likely, that Iran will want to develop a nuclear weapon. And it's exactly backwards. And it is, again, not an imminent threat now. Listen, it's obliterated threat now. The imminent threat is opening TSA to make sure that people who go on airplanes in the United States are traveling safely. And I just can't imagine why Congress is ducking this entire thing. And it's shame on Congress.
Where do you place the blame on that? Democrats say they've gone to Republicans multiple times. They've said, here's a funding package for the Coast Guard. Here's a funding package for FEMA. Here's a funding package for TSA. We're going to leave out ICE and CBP. Republicans have rejected it. So who do you blame?
I blame everybody. Compromise is not a dirty word, and bipartisanship was the hallmark of Congress until the last couple of decades. I don't blame the partisanship in Congress on the Trump administration. It started long before that. But if we don't get out of this hole, we will not have the separation of powers and Congress performing its functions that are absolutely essential at a time like this. Saying the president will do what he feels like, not something he's checked with a careful strategy, with a competent team underneath him, and with competent people in Congress, is terrifying. This is not the right thing to be doing.